Islamic Republic embassies are still open in European countries. Not a single European country has yet shut down their embassy.
Yeah.
So that is embarrassing.
Yeah. I
They,
agree.
they, and the fact they haven't closed it because they're still worried about the relationship with the Islamic Republic. So imagine how this is going to be remembered in history, because the Islamic Republic that is a Hitler of our time. So
Yeah.
imagine how it's going to be remembered when the Islamic Republic was committing a massacre on the Iranian people. These European countries were refusing to shut down their embassies because they still wanted to maintain some relationship with the Islamic Republic.
Yeah.
So if given that they're not doing the minimum, I don't know what else we can't even move on to the things that they should be doing. The thing that we could be like we expecting, given that they're not doing the basic, the very minimum, which is cutting all ties.
Yeah. Is there anything more like moving on from that? When they have closed the embassy, or if they will do, what could they do? Is it a money question, or is it more like opening up relations with the IPP and go from there?
I mean, there should be like the global military campaign with all of these countries. You know how, like, for example, they attacked Saddam when he invaded Kuwait, and there was like a complete military cooperations with multiple countries at the same time to go stop that. This is what should be happening right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Cool.
I
Thank you.
mean, I think. What do you think? Like, am I imagining things? I think like it's absolutely like I think that we're gonna be shaming these countries for like there's a massacre happening in Iran. Like the numbers are astronomical,
Yeah.
and the fact that European countries are still wondering if they should completely cut ties or not. I think this is going to be remembered for decades to come. And once Iran is free, I think Iranian people are never going to forget that these countries were still worried about the consequences of cutting ties with the Islamic Republic. I think nobody's going to forget that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
I agree. I mean, I've messaged the foreign minister and some of the guys in the parliament, but I'm just an ordinary citizen, so I didn't get a response. But my take on it is like that: close the embassy and then declare IRGC as a terrorist organization. The EU haven't done that yet, but we have some guys like Charlie Weimers trying to do that in the Swedish Democrats Party, and then move on to like opening up formal communication with Reza Pahlavi and the IPP.
Yeah. By the way, I hope people don't think that anything we are saying is against European people. Like, for example, Eric, I really appreciate the fact that, yeah, I mean, you care about Iran. Like, we're never going to forget the individuals who were fighting for us. We're never going to forget that. So I hope it doesn't come off as insulting to citizens of these countries,
Mm,
especially those who stood by our side.
No, 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 that's fine. I mean, in Sweden, I think we have good support among the people. For the Iranian people, unfortunately, there are those kind of mujahideens that are kind of vocal in the media for now.
Oh, wow. The
Many of them,
MEK? The MEK has presence
yeah,
in Sweden?
yeah, they have,
Wow.
and they get some kind of media presence, but I think the overwhelming support is for Reza Pahlavi, because that's like what the people in Iran are chanting. So, uh,
Amazing.
yeah,
Well, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay.
Soapbox, you're up. Oh,
And then after
Samantha
let's
is
go Samantha.
okay.
Yeah, so okay, so this is gonna sound somewhat strange, but like I, having been to Israel and having like a bunch of Israeli teachers and stuff, I kind of understood that there's a lot of systemic issues with the Arab world before I ended up getting involved in leftist activism and ultimately joined a communist cult. So I understood that, but once I got involved in leftist activism and got indoctrinated, it's like this is gonna sound so weird to say, but I got indoctrinated to a point where, I used to genuinely religiously believe that no with the exception of the Arabs, with that being the one and only exception, that no country that is not predominantly white, like, no country that's predominantly brown or black could ever have more systemic problems than a country that's full of white people. I religiously believed that for many years. So, like, I religiously believed that for many years, like, matter of faith. And what I want to say is there's probably a lot of leftists who believe that the Islamic Republic government cannot possibly be worse than any other government, okay? And, like, I used to believe that, like, if I thought, with the exception of the Arabs, if I thought that, like, a country that's predominantly not white had more of a problem with homophobia or, like, sexism than a white country, then it had to be because I have internalized white supremacy and I'm being racist for thinking that. So, like, I don't know, just going back to what the person who was talking earlier was saying, with I don't know if maybe they genuinely believe that Islamic Republic regime can't possibly be worse than other governments, and if anyone thinks that, it has to be due to their own racial bias, but that's not true. I understand that's not true.
Well, I mean, it's amazing that you made so much progress. When people get brainwashed like that, they usually don't come out of it. It's actually very impressive that you went so deep inside that cult and now you reevaluated everything and came out of it. That doesn't usually happen. So you should be very proud of yourself.
Thanks.
It's impressive. I'm going to say something that a lot of people are going to feel like it's really taboo and evil to say, but I mean, it's objectively true. The best countries are white right now. I mean, at least right now, right? The best countries in the world are white countries. Oh, Nicholas
work this
is
way?
raised.
Hey,
So,
am I
let
up?
me just
Can you hear me now?
I
just
have a
one thing before
theory.
before. No, wait, Nicholas, wait. So,
Go ahead and let
Nick,
Nick
BT,
talk.
no. So, BT is gonna add you to a list, Nicholas. Okay. So, we're gonna get to you, and if you want us to make sure that we see your raised hand, just use this reaction button at the bottom. But we're gonna get to you're now on a list, and we're gonna get to you, soon. Okay. So, thank you. Go on, Soapbox.
I'll mute.
Yeah, go ahead and let Nick jump my
All right.
spot, and I'll put me up after, I guess. Yeah, I think he has something cool to say. I'm not sure.
All right, Juris, go ahead. Nicholas, you go ahead then.
In regards to white supremacy, the reason primarily why white people are white is because we don't see as much sun as black people. And
That's not
yeah,
true.
because we have a lot of winters in white people land, typically. And our skin allows us to
Okay, good.
absorb the sun
I don't
better.
want to. I don't want to change our conversation regarding to biology, and I think we're gonna want to be talking more politics. Yes,
But
yeah.
typically, white country is east-west, where black country is north-south.
Okay, but that's only true if you're thinking long term. Like it's in our DNA. Like it's not like white people are going to turn black if they go to somewhere with sun. Like it's in our DNA
Yeah, but
because they're in dark. I don't want to have. I don't want to have that discussion. Let's not have that discussion. Let's go back to politics. Okay, so Bucks, it's your turn.
if you don't work together in winter, you die.
Okay, this is not this is not the topic. Like this, we're discussing politics. We're not discussing the biology behind why some people have more melanin than others. Right?
Iran is
All right,
very desirable land. I'm gonna mute.
please do. So Bucks.
Well, shit, that was interesting. Okay. Anyway, a few moments ago, you were talking about, like kind of a difference in like your desire to like, meet with practical moments on the ground and all these concrete things, right, that are extremely important. And then you referenced a little bit about philosophy. But I just want to put my 2 cents in and kind of reform that position of yours to re-emphasize that philosophy must rational philosophy, not any Marxist philosophy or whatever, but sensible philosophy, rational philosophy must be at the root of whatever you guys are going to remake inside of this country once you win, because it's
Yeah, but
you're gonna.
so Bucks, I do agree, but there's a time for things, right? Right now we're in the middle of a
Right.
war, right? And we need to be fighting for a country that we have the luxury of doing philosophy. When people are being shot at, that's not the time of doing moral philosophy and other stuff like that. That's the time for crushing your enemy
I
and
understand
pissing
this.
over their corpses. Yeah.
Armin, I understand this, but on the other hand, I just want it to be in perspective that at some point a person could argue now is when we need philosophy the most. And I understand when bullets are
I don't. Yeah,
flying.
but here's the thing.
Armin,
That's not going to be
let
received very well. So you have to also like Iranians are like if given that Iranians are now being killed in the thousands, right? If you go and say like, "Hey guys, let's do philosophy," I don't think that's going to be received very well.
I understand this. I understand this. And all of this reconstruction after you win is going to be important. I understand it's not important now because right now you're in the pass me a rifle and give me
Yeah,
all the ammunition you can
Bucks,
carry.
I have an entire channel dedicated to doing philosophy with Iranians on my Persian channel on YouTube. We have stopped that for a while, and we're going to go back to that after the revolution. We're successful at the
Okay.
revolution, right? So
All my hope
if you
was
think like we don't like Iranians, don't trust me. Iranians online, they're obsessed with philosophy. Okay, so they don't need to be told like, "Are you sure you have a proper philosophical mindset for what you're doing?" Like too much, actually, too much. We actually spend too much time thinking about philosophy. So don't worry, we're not lacking in that department.
let me rebut just for a moment. A lot of people's heads globally, not just Iran, Americans, anywhere, Europe, anywhere. To them, philosophy means like perpetual doubt and skepticism, right? And
No.
that's not the case. It properly applied philosophy means now it's time to get your rifle, get your friends, go to the street if you are able, and do your duty. Right? You've got to do your duty, and then fight for your freedom. I'm not over there. It's not my country. I support you 100% all the time.
All
But
right.
but you know,
Yep.
I don't want philosophy to be chucked into the gutter, and then everyone
Okay,
wakes up
don't worry,
after a revolution. Now what do we do?
I trust the Iranian people. I know that they are right now they're thinking strategy in the streets, and I trust them. They know what they're doing, and they also have a good leader who knows what he's doing. So we have great data, and they're wise people, and they're making great decisions based on what's happening on the ground, and they also have great guidance. So don't worry about that. Okay, we're good.
I fully agree. I just hope that I can contribute something and keep everything like
Can
grounded for what happens next.
right
Because
right now, the least helpful thing is advice. The best help that people could do is to be our voice and amplify our voice. That's what we need. We don't need lecturing. We don't need anybody to tell us what to do.
I am not the lecturing type. I'm not saying
I
that. I'm trying to help.
I know.
I'm just
I'm saying
intellectual
that
and
instead,
thinking.
we need more listening. We need more people. We need people to say, listen to Iranian people and say what you need me to do, rather than
I
telling Iranian
agree.
people what to do. That's what we need.
I agree. I'm not.
Right.
I'm here in a small, tiny voice room with like maybe 15 guys.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
All
not.
I've done,
I'm not trying to be
all I've
rude.
done for the past many years
I'm not trying to be
is listen to the Iranian people. Okay.
right.
About this because that's the kind of person I am. I pay attention to world events
So,
and so forth. That's why I'm here.
so let me tell you something because you talk about philosophy. Okay, let me also
Right.
tell you something about marketing. You have to use a different word right now. That's not going to. People are going to not appreciate that your word right now being used in this time. Whatever you're trying to say, that's not the right word, and it's not going to be received very well. So you also need to know if you want to do philosophy. Part of philosophy is to know what words to use at what time. So you're not really delivering your message very well because that seems like that word seems out of place right now. So you have to
Well,
find a
I'm
different.
using these terminologies here with
All right,
you in a small group of
all right,
voice.
all right. So
Okay.
let me
Check
just
out
Excuse
yeah,
me.
check
Excuse
check
me. Hold
out
on, please.
my link
Hold
we
on,
post
please. I
in
don't
the
want to have
school
to mute anybody, but hold on,
chat.
please. Ahmad is speaking. The timer is well over, and we want to make sure that Armin has enough time to eat today. So let's please just save this for a little bit later and move on to Dingleberry. Dingleberry, again, please stick to your point. Armin's time is very precious. He has to eat and drink and get some rest, and he's going above and beyond to sit and speak with us. So let's stay on Iran topic specifically. And we have a 3-minute timer, which moving forward, I will absolutely cut people off after 30 seconds, but I will warn you if you go above your 3-minute. Okay, love you guys. Bye.
Yeah. Also, by the way, Soapbox, I appreciate you paying attention to Iran, so I hope nothing I said came off as insulting. Okay. All right. So who's next? Dingleberry. Dingleberry. All right. Dingleberry 1, Dingleberry 2, Dingleberry 3. Who's next?
Daniel Dome.
Daniel.
I like it's connected to what is going on in Iran, but the guys who live in Europe, like, do people start to make more voice about the revolution that the Iranians try to do? Like, do people go and protest next to the embassies of Iran, of
Islamic Republic.
the Islamic Republic? Yeah, and like, is
Yeah.
like,
In,
I just want to, like, overall, like, people, if someone can
so
say something like,
So is your question is, are people going and protesting against the regime's
yeah, it's a question,
in Europe?
it's a
In
question,
Europe?
and also a suggestion. Yeah,
No, they are. Like, we have been showing them in our shows. They're going in large numbers. Iranians are. Are you talking about Iranians or non-Iranians?
about everyone, like,
Yeah.
maybe
So,
Iranians as well, but not only.
all right. So let me actually use this as a way to address this. Iranians have done a really good job in showing up in mass numbers to protest in countries outside of Iran, in front of the Islamic Republic embassy, but also in front of the US embassy, and also in front of the White House. We, if you look at the numbers, it's been more than the amount of unity and solidarity to send their message to the leaders of these countries and trying to keep the news on the slaughter that is happening in Iran. And it has been very impressive how many Iranians actually have come out to and continue to come out to try to keep the news, keep the attentions on Iran, right? One thing that they could, I think, do better is that I see a lot of these posters and a lot of these signs were targeted mostly to Iranians. Some of them I see now they're getting better. Some of them were only in Persian. And I think that it's a missed opportunity. I think that what they should be doing is to make it more clear that non-Iranians could participate in these protests and everybody could be involved in this revolution, and to show appreciation for people who show up. I saw both Neil Bunny and Susanna mention that when they went to the protests, the Iranians were very, very welcoming to them, and they were very encouraged that they arrived and showed them a lot of love. I just think that that should be demonstrated more, that should be highlighted more, so that more non-Iranians get encouraged to join these demonstrations, because they could easily double the size of these protests if non-Iranians realize that, oh, they're actually welcome here, right? And I think more non-Iranians need to realize that this, how historic of an event this is. I think a lot of people don't know what we're right now in the middle of. Like, this is like the fall of the Berlin Wall. Like, this is one of those events. This is like, and I think it's just passing people by without noticing what a turning point this is, in not in Iran history but in world history. So I think if this was communicated to more people, I think more people would want to participate in these protests. Did
Yes,
you?
my internet is just going on, off, on, off. I believe it has to do with the attack that might take place.
Okay. So
All right,
let's move to
next,
the next.
Dahlia.
Guys hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Perfect. Thank you so much for allowing me to join this conversation and have a voice. I very much appreciate that. Not a lot of people in my circle are talking about it. I'm here in America and there's a lot of other stuff going on. So again, I really appreciate having these conversations and dialogues. But I did want to get your take because I haven't heard a lot of specific regarding this topic. What kind of strategy was it that the Islamic regime had shutting down all the electricity and internet? I get that it was, to cripple, they crippled themselves doing that because when you cut out all the distractions, like people can't go out and buy anything, there's shops are closed, there's no normalcy, there's no stability. You did nothing but inflate the protesting. So, I mean, it boggles my mind that you're not allowing that kind of distraction to keep taking place because then you wouldn't have such high numbers, if that makes sense.
You're saying that the regime, by killing so many Iranians, it backfired and they.
Not killing Iranians. It's more of the fact that they're shutting down all of the different distractions that other people could be doing because by doing that, you're enabling people to go out because they have nothing else to do. So you're just
Well,
inflating the amount of people that are going out in the streets.
well, I mean, I think the Islamic Republic accurately calculated that what they were about to do was so outrageous that if all of that information was available to Iranians and the outside world, that would be the end of them, right? I mean, it's already the end of them because everybody has seen what has happened. But I think they were trying to avoid that from happening because I don't think that just because people have access to Instagram or their gaming, if the Islamic Republic came out and killed like 50,000 Iranians, people were like, well, I'll still have my Instagram, so I'll keep doom scrolling. I think killing 50,000 Iranians and other Iranians knowing that this has happened would be the end of them. So they're trying to desperately to act like not much has happened, right? They're still, by the way, trying to do that, to act like the numbers that they're coming up with is like around 3,000, and mostly they're like good people that weren't part of the revolution. That's what they're acting like. That, oh, the terrorists and the rioters came out and just killed innocent people. That's what they're trying to make it seem like happened. And they're desperately trying to sell that narrative, and they're also right now trying to sell the narrative that things are now back to normal. Because they know Iranian people will not tolerate that just because they have internet. You know what I mean? And they also know that the world's seeing what they were, because their plan was to kill this many people, right? So you have to understand that this level of killing is, we haven't seen anything like that in the history of the Islamic Republic. I know the Islamic Republic has been brutal, but nothing like this. This is on a different level. And because they understood that this is such a high level of killing, that if the world sees it, that would mean complete like isolation, and which would make them go bankrupt, which would make them not be able to sell, to be able to hire that level of killing actually causes a lot of infighting, and it's going to cut a lot of their funding from their ability to raise money, and them not being able to afford paying their forces. That would also be the end of them. So from their perspective, this makes sense. From their perspective, does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I would I would in turn argue like the things are going to leak. Even if everything quelled and everything was fine, things would still leak after the fact. So then the world would still have that information after the fact. You can't control 90 million Iranians.
Yeah, but you
That's a
can
lot.
try
That's a
because,
high volume.
yeah, well, 2 points, right? Think about it, like they have no other option from their perspective, because if they didn't do this, then they would have to just accept that they're going to fall, right? So from their perspective, it's worth a try, right? Also, from their perspective, there's three audiences here, right? The Iranian people, foreigners, but the most important audience is their supporters, their 1%, right? That continue to back them. So even if information gets leaked, because here's the thing, their supporters, some of them would not tolerate, some of them are delusional, some of them think like, no, the Islamic Republic is just so kind and so nice and they would never do such a thing, right? So you don't want to lose them, right? I know there's like some of them that would support the Islamic Republic actually doing mass slaughter on people, But there's also some of them who think that, well, this Islamic Republic will obviously not ever do something like this. So as long as you hide the information to some extent, they could continue living in their own parallel universe, denying reality. So for them, you need to just hide the information just a little bit. You don't need to be very good. Like, these are people who still believe that in the 12-day war, the Islamic Republic shut down multiple F 35s, right? These are the people who still to this day believe that the Islamic Republic managed to capture at least 2 pilots in the 12-day war, and that the Islamic Republic won the 12-day war, and they managed to actually turn Tel Aviv is like Gaza right now, right? And that Israel achieved none of their objectives in Iran. That's what they still to this day believe. So for those people, as long as you manage to keep the information hidden to some extent, you will still be okay. And if you lose them, then it's game over.
Did the revolution began actually when the currency went 1 to 1 million, or they were like simultaneously?
Okay, so after this, we're gonna have to go back to the order because we want to make sure BT is keeping the order of
Yeah, sure.
speaking. Okay, okay. So, guys, what started the revolution is not why the people do the revolution. This is something everybody needs to understand, that during the Mahsa revolution, people were not doing the revolution for the sake of hijab. So during the Mahsa revolution, a lot of people think that the revolution was about hijab, and it wasn't. And during this revolution, people think that the revolution is about economics, and it's not. It's true that what they did to Mahsa Amini was the spark of the revolution, but it's also true that that was just an excuse. This is why during the Mahsa revolution, people were saying hijab faqat bahune ast, asl nizam nishun ast, which meant that the hijab is an excuse. Our target is the entire regime. That was one of the first. So when you saw the drop in currency prices, and also the increase in fuel prices, that was a spark for people to come out. But as soon as they come out, they're not chanting about the economy. They're chanting about the destruction of the Islamic Republic and the return of Pahlavi. Does
Yeah,
that make
thank you.
sense?
Yeah,
Next was Jeremy.
Thank you. Just the question about what people can do to.
But before you say that guy Nicholas guy, I banned him from the group. Was that a good decision or not? Because he seemed like a troll. You guys agree with
Yes,
that?
yeah, it was a
Thank
draw.
you. Yep.
Okay.
Just on the question of what we can all do to help, it seems obvious that the most important thing is that the US actually does something. I know it looks like it, they will, but I'm not confident that's 100%. I mean, they only really came on board regime change this year after Bibi visited. They were dead against any regime change last year. They wouldn't allow Israel to do anything to facilitate regime change. And there's a lot of forces in the US which don't want regime change. So I mean, if we obviously going and supporting the protests around the world, encouraging governments to support the US intervening, but also looking at why the US doesn't want regime change in Iran. I mean, you've got, I mean, a lot of things depend on big business. Obviously, I don't know if anything can be done about that, but people are making a lot of money about Iran being big and bad and evil and threatening Arab countries. There's huge Islamic Republic. There's huge arm deals going on with the Arab countries that would probably go down a lot. So a lot of American companies will make a lot less money. America was using the Iranian regime as its proxy to fight the extremist Sunni radicals around the world. You've got the MAGA's been infiltrated by people who support the Iranian regime. A lot of people in the establishment have the idea that they need to empower the Iranian regime to be their proxy and to diminish Israel. And also, I think the CIA isn't that friendly to the Shah. From what I understand, a lot of the think tanks in the US don't really recognize that the Shah is supported by a large amount of people in Iran. I don't think they want to be associated with the Shah. So I don't know if any of those points are relevant or anything can be done to minimize them to increase the likelihood that the USA will actually intervene now.
So, I mean, the science show that the US is about to intervene. That's what I mean. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's what the signs show right now, right? And when we're talking about the U.S., we have to talk about we can't speak as if the United States has one position. The United States is filled with so many different interest groups, so many different lobbies, so many different agendas, so many different people with different opinions. So talking about it as if it has like one single view regarding regime change in Iran, I think is not, I think it's simplistic because, for example, there are some very powerful people in the United States that would love a regime change, right? So Lindsey Graham, he like would love a regime change. Ted Cruz would love a regime change, right? Marco Rubio would love a regime change, and these are not small people. Okay, these are big. These are each one of these are represents an entire group of people with with their own followers and with their own fans. But these are powerful forces within U.S. politics, right? So first thing that, and also when it comes to Trump being the president, Trump has been proven to be more flexible regarding his positions. So today, I mean, he might be against regime change. Tomorrow, he might want it more than anyone else, right? Given who the president is, I think that we cannot say that the United States is against regime change because Trump was against starting wars and now he's bombing and attacking multiple places. So, right, that's another thing. And when it comes to think tanks, you're right about that. So there are a lot of American think tanks that have been influenced by the NIAC if they're on the left, or by the MEK if they're on the right. Both of these organizations have a lot of money. NIAC is basically the reformist arm of the Islamic Republic, and they have invested decades on trying to and successfully managing to be very influential and connected and expanding their networks in US media, lobby groups, think tanks, and US politicians among the Democrats very successfully. Reports that look very authoritative, look very credible, academic, that a lot of people cite as sources. And a lot of people even don't know that Nayak is actually part of the Islamic Republic. On the right, we have MEK, which is a terrorist group that actually was removed from a terrorist group because they were, according to Jeffrey, at least here, it was that they were supporting the Clintons. So that's how they managed to get removed by Americans, to be removed from a terrorist group. But they did many terrorist activities. So they are a terrorist group, even if they were removed from the list. And the MEK has been very successful in having a lot of connections to some Republicans. And for example, Mike Pompeo, Rudy Giuliani, Mike Pence, and Bolton. And they also have a lot of influence. They have also managed to grow their tentacles and have a lot of influence in a lot of different media, American, Western media outlets. Very, very successful in doing that, right? So that's why you can see so many things. I doubt that the American intelligence doesn't know how big of a support Pahlavi has. But even if they didn't know, I think that all of this misinformation and all of this investment to deny the support Pahlavi has in Iran has been wasted. I think we managed to destroy that in the past 2 weeks. Decades worth of investment in trying to make people not recognize how big of a deal Pahlavi is in Iran. All of it is now defeated by the Iranian people fighting, giving up their lives to shout the name Pahlavi, right? And I think that the millions and millions of dollars that the MEK and Nayak have invested in trying to deny this reality has been defeated by Iranians in the streets. So this is why I say that this in Persian I say پولی که این کثافت‌ها خرج کردن با خونی که مردم ایران دادن شکست خورد. یعنی the blood of the Iranian people in the streets of Iran has managed to defeat the millions of dollars of these people investing their money to try to deny this reality. I just want to show this picture again because I showed it on the show. I want to show it one more time, and I will keep showing this forever. Anytime somebody wants to deny the reality on the ground in Iran, Iranian people are literally writing with after they're getting shot and bleeding in the streets of Iran, they're using their own blood to write Javid Shah. And I don't know if the person who did this is still alive. but you could see that the regime that tried to kill them, but maybe as a final act, they wrote Javid Shah with their own blood and Marg Bar Khamenei, which means death to Khamenei. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Who's next? BT? Is BT here? BT?
She wrote Dajjal on the list.
Yeah, Dajjal next.
Dajjal, go ahead.
Yeah, she says she can't open her mic.
Yeah. What's up, guys? I'm sorry about your friend. I got my condolences for what it's worth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It sucks, man. Stay strong. I was going to ask you, actually. You were talking about your position versus the Iranian position. How you talk about what most Iranians think, and most of them want a monarchy. Didn't you say that you're a Republican person? Didn't you say that you would actually vote for a constitutional monarchy?
I would. Yeah, I would vote for a constitutional monarchy, not because I am a constitutional monarchist, but I'm being a pragmatist, right? So even though I'm a Republican, the unfortunate situation for us Republicans are that most other Republicans in Iran are retarded, right? So the sane Republicans are a minority among Republicans, right? So the Republican brand in Iran is basically the brand of the communists, the MEK, and the reformists, right? There's a small minority of us Republicans who believe in classical liberal values, and we support Pahlavi. So the problem is that if Iran becomes like a republic rather than a constitutional monarchy, the door becomes open to all of these insane people, right? And I think the safest way to keep all of these people out is to become a constitutional monarchy.
I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes, that makes perfect sense. You're just being pragmatic. That's the only way to keep these fuckers in power is to go, go for king. That makes sense. That's they're all like crazy.
And also the Republicans don't have anything to show for when it comes to organization, when it comes to having like a framework, like who's their leader? Like, do we have they don't have anything after 47 years, they don't have anything to show for, right? But the monarchists do. So it only makes sense.
Right, of course. But like even but you said even like the other actually sane Republicans, they support Pahlavi like you do. Even
yes,
so.
yes,
yeah,
yes.
Right.
This is why people say, like, one thing that the same Republicans love to say is that they say I'm a Republican and I say Javid Shah, right? So I'm not a monarchist and I say Javid Shah. They love to say that to show that the base of support for Princess of Pahlavi is beyond the monarchists. So the non-monarchists who support him, they want to. This is why it's also good that I'm not a monarchist, because people like me who are not monarchists and support Princess of Pahlavi, it's good that we exist to demonstrate that the support for Princess of Pahlavi goes beyond monarchists.
Right. Yeah, of course, that does make sense.
Yes. BT is making a good point in the chat for people who might be American here. In the context of Iranian politics, when we say Republican, we're not talking about the Republican Party in the United States. Don't be so American-centric with your politics. In the Iranian sense, Republican is actually more left-leaning. And so in America, when you say Republican, you think right-leaning. In Iran, when you say Republican, you actually think a bit more left-leaning. The monarchists are more right-leaning. Republicans, on average, not always, more left-leaning.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not left-leaning. And Republican just means, in Iran, Republicans, it just means somebody who wants a republic without a monarch.
So in the Iranian context, most Republicans are either leftist or Islamic lunatics, unfortunately. So
or commies. Yeah. So as they're communists.
Right.
So,
That makes sense. Like he's really your only shot at these other lunatics. It's just I thought that was kind of funny. I thought one, you makes perfect sense. Of course, Goldie's a straight up monarchist.
Yeah. She tries to brag that she's better than me because she's like, I can say this is our Shah, but Armin can't because he's not a monarchist. I'm like, I can't say that as well. But for me, this is our Shah, but for Armin, maybe not. He's just a prince. I'm just kidding. But yeah.
But they're so crazy. You go for a monarchy just for pragmatic purposes. That makes sense.
Yes.
Because I would
go on.
Just from an outsider, an American.
On paper, I could argue why I prefer a republic over a constitutional monarchy. Like we could have a political philosophical discussion about it, but we're not living on paper. We're living in the real world. So you have to actually see, given our conditions and the environment that we live in, what makes the most strategic sense, and our philosophical ideas regarding what is the most ideal form of government is irrelevant compared to what works on the ground given our situation, right? And also, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who wants what because we're going to have a referendum anyways. And what I can say that most sane Iranians, if the constitutional, like most Iranians who are constitutional monarchists, have accepted that if the result of the referendum is a republic, we're going to go with the republic. And most Republicans have also accepted that if the result of the referendum is a constitutional monarchy, we're going to go with the constitutional monarchy. So most Iranians have accepted that they will just accept the result of the referendum after we're free, and we're not going to fight about it. I'm just going to allow the referendum to decide.
Your common ground is Pahlavi. He's the guy you're around behind.
Yeah, and he's responsible for bringing us together because we were fighting each other, like the monarch, and now we're saying because he just wants for us to have a referendum, we all have agreed to unite and just say referendum decide what we're going to have, a republic or a constitutional monarchy.
Yeah, exactly, because he's not coming at this from the point of of being the crown prince. He's the leader of the revolution. He wants to lead a transition that leads to a referendum, and then the Iranian people will decide whether they want him to be the king or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes total sense. Yeah, I just wanted to hear you elaborate on that. I thought it was kind of interesting. Thanks.
No, that's good. I'm glad you asked. And by the way, I saw Amy was a bit in the chat, but she was a bit confused because, and I appreciate you guys are here and like listening and learning all of this. You guys are amazing, by the way. Everybody who's here and paying attention to this, I just want to let you guys know that the fact that you're spending time and trying to understand the nuances of politics in Iran. We didn't have this for the past 47 years. We didn't have this many people paying attention to what's happening in Iran. So I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate every single one of you and the fact that you're here to learn about it. This is really heartwarming. So thank you.
Okay, next is my favorite uncle. Also, Armin, if there's any decent people here, it's because you attracted us to you.
Oh, BT, you always say thank you, BT. And I don't know what the best response to what you're saying is, but thank you.
Yeah, so I am putting the timer on to be sure that I'm not there because I have a tendency of going into a tangent. So Armin, thank you so much for providing us the platform here because we are all benefiting from each other as well. And I don't think I can overstate the importance of that you're simply enabling it. So yeah, just it's mutual to put it simply.
Thank you.
I just wanted to kind of convey a little bit of what I consider to be a bit wholesome coping from the far cold north where I'm living. So there's been for the last few weeks, of course, demonstrations in Oslo by the Iranian diaspora. And I think there was one conservative outlet that mentioned around like 4,000, which is quite sizable for a small country like us. But today I came across, incidentally, a live stream while it was streaming the Kurds that were marching as well. And I posted it on school. And I thought first it was Iranians. There was an Iranian march that I incidentally came across while it was live streaming because they were saying, and they were using Magbad, like many of the Iranian words, right? And so I didn't recognize the flags at first, but after I posted it, I realized that it was the Kurds. I had to edit that post. And the reason I mentioned that was not only because it was interesting to note how similar because I noticed some of the slogans like Asadi and stuff like that have been in Sandegi, had been used by the Kurds, but it was surprising to see like it was put out into it was so similar. And I thought it was a pretty good thing because I'm the kind of dude who generally thinks that anyone waving a foreign flag on Norwegian soil should be promptly shot on the spot. But since we have already permitted like the pro-Palestine folks, I think the really good counterweight to that is exactly the Kurds and the Iranians, because they show then that it's not just Muslims. Muslims aren't necessarily just like, you know, the poor colonized victims or anything. They are actually the oppressive colonizers, the occupying force in the region, from be it from Syria to Iran. And yeah, I think that's going to be good for breaking a little bit of the mirage that had been sent over in our direction. Because, like I mentioned, the conservative outlet that reports on the Iranian diaspora, they're a small one by comparison to the biggest media outlets. They really don't try to cover this that much.
They have any? Did they have any lion and sun flag?
No, they had the Kurdish flag with the sun, but like since it was just at the first glance, I kind of
Fuck every single one of those people. Okay, and also let me just teach you something. Anybody who's now chanting Zan Zindagi Azadi is not with us.
Okay, so
Anybody who's chanting Zan Zindagi Azadi is not with us. Okay, we have the Zan Zindagi Azadi. This is not about Zan Zindagi Azadi, and this is not our chant anymore. And the anybody who's waving the Kurdish flag around, these are not just average Kurdish people. These are separatists, right? So we don't respect that flag. In fact, anybody waving that flag, we see that as our enemy, as much of an enemy as Islamic Republic is. And they chant Zan Zindagi Azadi. Like, I mean, guys, who's the leader of our revolution? Princess of Pahlavi. What did he have in his bio? Zan Zindagi Azadi Mad Mihan Abadi. He changed it. Why did he change it? He removed that. Okay, he changed it to Iran Pas Migiri. He changed it because the Iranian people are not using that chant anymore, because that chant has been taken by commies and leftists to change this revolution into something that is not. A feminist leftist revolution that is not the same. Here's how you know that that's not our chant anymore. The Islamic Republic is using that chant. Why would the Islamic Republic now come out and say Zan Zindagi Azadi? Because Zan Zindagi Azadi, here's how clever the Islamic Republic is. The Islamic Republic comes into a revolution, produces its own leaders, and tries to hijack our revolution and give us its own leaders and create a fake opposition, and then arrest those leaders to try to give them credibility. But the Iranian people are wiser than are smarter than too smart for the Islamic Republic to be able to trick like that. So given, I mean, here's the thing: if you're saying somebody outside of Iran chanting something that nobody inside Iran is chanting right now, like from the videos that are coming out of Iran, have you seen Zan Zindagi Azadi?
No,
No. I just need to know. The answer is no. Okay, so why are some people saying Zan Zindagi Azadi? Zan Zindagi Azadi is now a chant against Javid Shah. That crowd that you saw, if you went in the middle of them, go into the middle of them and say Javid Shah, see what happens. They might beat you up. In that crowd that you just saw, go in the middle of them and just say any of the chants that the Iranian people are, are dying for in the streets of Iran, any of those, if you actually say that in the middle of those people. So what are the main three chants? Javid Shah, right? And actually, just to focus on these two, Javid Shah and in آخرین نبرد پهلوی برمیگرده. Those people would want to kill you if you said that chant in front of them. Okay. If there's a crowd that Iranian people who are dying freeing the country, if Iranian people, if they hate them and vice versa, that's not the right crowd to support.
Like, I understand the secessionist element of the Kurds, that's the hostile one. That's the one you view with hostility, and understandably so. But is it because I was familiar with what you mentioned about the San Sandegi? Like, I heard that later in the stream, but I thought it had more to do with the language of the Kurds being very similar, because they also use, just like the Javid Shah, Javid Shah, Javid Shah, they used Asadi, Asadi, Asadi. So are you saying do you think there could be a co-option, because they are
okay, so you're making
anyway,
a big mistake again. I keep mentioning this. You talk about the Kurds and then the Kurdish separatists as if you're talking about the same thing. It's very important that you do not mix these two together. Okay, right. The majority of Iranian Kurds are patriotic Iranians. Okay,
Right, but
so
I'm
please
thinking like the movement that I saw.
don't refer to
Mm,
Kurdish. See, like, look how I'm very careful with my words. I keep referring to them as Kurdish separatists. I don't refer to them as Kurds. It's an insult to Iranian Kurds for me to mix them with those fuckers, right?
mm.
I'm not going to mix them with we Iranians. We love our Kurdish community, and our Kurdish community, they're fighting for the freedom of Iran as a unified country. The Kurdish Iranians are in the streets in Iran saying Javid Shah. So don't, when you're talking about Kurdish separatists, just refer to them as separatists and not Kurds, right? And
But are they
also,
always
let me go.
separatist?
I'm specifically talking about the chant Zan Zindagi Azadi that has been thrown out.
Mm.
Not Azadi. Azadi means liberty. Obviously, we're going to shout freedom. Obviously, we're going to continue to shout Azadi. We're fighting for liberty. We haven't gotten rid of the word liberty from our language. I'm specifically talking about that specific chant, Zan Zindagi Azadi. That's not part of our chant anymore. Unless the prince decides, then it will come back. But our prince decides that. Our
Do you
leader
think
decides.
the Kurds, because my impression was that the reason they were having it was because of the headways that the Syrian government was having against the Kurds in Syria. But what you're saying is like, because are you saying that the slogan, it's a not only like a linguistic similarity?
Were they Iranian Kurds or some other Kurds?
I got the impression it was just
If
like
they
I
say
couldn't.
Jin, they're Iranian. If they said Jin, Jian Azadi, then they're might be from somewhere else. But Zan is like Persian, right?
I've seen the jinn, but it sounded to me like they said son, but I did hear Asadi, for example, and Magbar.
Yeah,
So maybe they
Azadi
were.
is same. So we have to see. I don't know, but we don't. They're not with us. They're not with us. Anybody raising the Kurdish flag is not with us. Like the Kurdish flag of the nation state of Kurdistan is not with us. Our Kurds, our Iranian Kurds, they raise the lion and sun flag of Iran. They don't raise the Kurdish flag. So
So
anybody
there's
raising
a.
that flag is not with us.
Do you think there's any chance that the those who were at the demonstration had adopt like it's a kind of a slogan the sons and the gi or jinn, was that something that they had like by
I haven't
themselves, or is
seen
it
that
something that
slogan
they've
being
come along
used
from?
for any movement outside of Iran, right? So I don't understand who these people are. I haven't seen Kurdish people. Maybe they have. I don't know.
Because I picked
I
up
don't.
some
I'm not.
Druze who
I'm
discriminated
more
from the
familiar.
Kurds.
I'm more familiar with Iranian Kurds and what happens inside Iran than Kurdish people outside of Iran.
Yeah, because there was some similar from there
But
was some Druze
all
who were
I know is
disseminating
whether
the.
they're Iranians or not Iranians, whatever they were doing there has nothing to do with our revolution. And if it has anything to do with our revolution, it's against our revolution. That's
Yeah.
all I know. Okay.
Uh,
All right.
Thank you.
It's either irrelevant or against us, but it's not with us.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. BT, did you figure out your mic issue? Okay, so Ali is next.
Hi, Armin. Can you hear me?
Yes.
First, I want to say thank you so much for doing all of this. I've been watching the stream for 20 days now. I just want to say thank you so much. I know how hard it is to spend so much of your time every single day for this, to answer so many questions back to back to back every day. My question for you is something a bit more personal. I've been wondering, as a member of diaspora, so I'm Iranian American, how can I go to Iran and help rebuild our country once we win? If my plan is to go get a job in the transitional government or whatever it may be, do you have any advice on that?
Well, I mean, just what are you good at? I think I'm a capitalist. I think that the best way to be productive for a society, yes, Samantha had to remember. I remember Samantha to make sure she gives the thumbs down when I say capitalist. I think the best way to be productive to a society is to just try to be the best at what you're at and try to provide for yourself in a proper free country. Right now, we're living on a very unusual, weird situation where we have to be sacrificing and sometimes giving up our own self-interest for the sake of others. But that's not how a normal country should operate. A normal country is a country where you're actually contributing the most to society when you're trying to contribute most to yourself. The act of self-interest is actually in line with providing for the rest of society. That's how a free society operates. That's the Iran that we want. We want a free Iran where everybody could just focus on doing the best thing for themselves and their family. And by doing that, they're also producing, because think about it, in a free society, the best way for you to provide for yourself is to create things that other people want. If you don't have corruption, how can you get rich when there's no corruption? If you actually get rid of corruption and government involvement in businesses, what is the best way to get rich? To produce what other people want, to provide the best services and the best goods that other people want. So you only could get ahead by doing the most for other people. We want a society where you could focus on what you want and what your family wants, and in that process, everybody else will benefit as well.
I understand. And then, so I have a small follow up. So, how realistic do you think it is for members of the diaspora to be able to return to Iran and have an impact?
Well, here's the thing, you don't even have to return. I think you should return if that is the best thing for you and your family, right? I think one thing that is going to be really good for keeping Iran connected to the rest of the world is having the Iranian diaspora. I think that building a connection with the outside world to Iran is also going to be very valuable. So, countries with a educated, rich diaspora are a bridge between their country and the rest of the world. So we shouldn't under like we should understand the value of that as well. So there's many ways. There is no one answer, one solution for every person. You have to see what your skills are, what makes sense for you. Does that make sense? Like, do you know
Yeah,
what
it
I'm
does make
saying? Like,
sense.
yeah. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go back. You have to go back if that's what you desire the most, right? But it makes sense for some Iranians to live outside of Iran, and there are many ways to contribute. You don't have to go back to Iran. Just go back there if it's yeah. But also, I don't know regarding when and how we can do this. I think it really depends on how long the like depends on the transition period, right? So we have to see how that process goes. And also during the transition period, we might need a lot of Iranians outside of Iran to help from outside with the transition period, because the transition period is going to require a lot of cooperation with the rest of the world. So again,
Yeah.
sorry if I don't have a specific answer, because I think everybody has to look at their skills, look at their abilities, look at their connections, look at their network. So I think it really depends.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, guys, the best society is where, like, we're Iran is like in wartime condition, right? So we need to think like we need to Iranians need to sacrifice because we're in wartime situations. But what we want to be in a situation where people don't have to think about sacrifice. I want to have a normal country where people could think about, having a beautiful, rich life rather than sacrifice. I don't want the Iranians to continue having to sacrifice.
Armin, we have Ezekiel next. However, someone requested, if it's possible, can you please link in the chat the video that you have with the blood drawing?
Oh, okay. I have
Even sending a link to a picture would be good. It's a very powerful picture.
While Armin does that, just a reminder for everyone, he has about 35 minutes left until the hour. So if anybody has a question that maybe, they can save for another time, or just another easy reminder to watch our time.
So I'm gonna put a caption for it. Iranians write Javid Shah with their own blood in the streets of Iran. Is that a okay caption?
Yeah, very impactful.
Yeah, okay. All right, Ezekiel, you wanted to?
Yes. Hi, I'm new here, so thanks for having me. I'm Ezekiel, or Chezi in Hebrew, and I just wanted to say I think we should all keep in our minds just the level of how close we are to the things that happen and how privileged we are, because for someone in some country where there's almost no consequences for whatever happens in Iran now, it can be very easy to debate the hot questions and just, they have all the time in the world. For people inside Iran with guns aimed at them, it can be completely a different story, a completely different story. For us Israelis, for example, we are much closer to the guys that have no consequence. We may need to run to bomb shelters and we may lose some buildings and some people may even get hurt, but that cannot be compared at all to what people in Iran are going through. Also, Iranians in the diaspora, just the thought that people they know and who didn't contact them for some time, that something might happen to them, we need to think how we would feel in that point. Just to keep that in mind, I'm not saying we shouldn't be debating questions, but we should keep that in mind all the time. That's all. Thanks.
I do want to say though, Jewish people have experienced what we are experiencing in the past 2 weeks for thousands of years, though, right? So they might be in a position right now where they have a amazing army protecting them. I mean, we still did have October 7th, and they're still experiencing a lot of hate and attacks globally. But I do think that if there's anybody who understands what we're going through right now as the Jewish people, based on the generational trauma that they have gone through for thousands of years, so I think if anybody could understand it, it's the Jewish people.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that. I think we also prove the importance of having a very wide diaspora. So that's also a good point you made.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
BT is driving, so I'm responsible on the list now. BT, you said you have a. Okay, then later I'll add you to the list.
I'm gonna make you a mod as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's just not that I can promise to be in every discussion.
That's why I'm trying to increase the number of mods so that
Okay.
mods don't have to think about always having to be here.
So 2 points, and it's relating. It's less for you, Armin. It's more for like people here that are from America, from Europe, Australia. I can't stress it enough that there is a general sense of the mentality of the Middle East. Iranians are very strong. They're very willed, but they're also majority, at least, are very liberal, very, very more Western than people think. So I get that many people that come from Western countries, they see all of this and they think, oh, it's going to be like Syria. It's going to be like Iraq. We're going to replace the Taliban with the Taliban. Those are things that I'm hearing all the time. It's not the same. It's not the same because it's a different mentality. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say was specifically to talk real quick about the internet thing. I know it's been a while ago, but we already know why the regime wanted to turn off the internet specifically. They already did it in 2019, and it worked for them. They killed, some estimate a few hundred, some estimate a few thousand. Definitely not like what it is now, but it stopped. So that was a strategy that worked. Yes, the protest, the revolution that is happening today is completely different. We're talking about millions of people on the streets. And then I have the one question for you. In our media, obviously, they're talking every day about updates for Iran. Today and yesterday, specifically, they're saying that we're estimating that we have intel, that estimations that the protests are actually starting to die down and people are actually starting to not show up anymore. A lot still do, but it seems to be dying down, and people are asking if we missed the window for attack.
The protests are not dying down. We just had a tactical retreat. That's the exact words that Prince Reza Pahlavi has used. People have to understand that nobody saw this level of massacre coming. Not even from the Iranian side. The number of people that the Islamic Republic killed was above what people understood would happen. So there is a reevaluation of how we need to deal with this, because there's two surprises that happened. First of all, when people showed up after the call to action by Princess of Pahlavi, the number of people who showed up was way above anybody expected. The Iranian people themselves didn't expect as many people to show up. Princess of Pahlavi, I don't think he expected that many people to show up. And the Islamic Republic didn't expect as many people to show up. Everybody was shocked. The understanding was that if the streets get filled with millions of people, that's it. It's game over, because the Islamic Republic will realize, well, I cannot just shoot this many people. Like, I can't just shoot like tens of thousands of people. They will come. They will come and chew at my neck, as we say in Iranian, in Persian. In Persian, we have a saying like, "They will come chew at my neck," right? Like, this is game over. Like, that would be the time that we're like, okay, this is too many. We can't kill this many people. So let's just, like, we have to surrender or something like that, right? But what happened is that apparently what Khomeini had said, we have to listen to him. Khomeini had saying, he says, "Ojab wajibat," which means the highest of all priorities. Meaning that the highest of all priorities is for the Islamic rule to continue. And he said that this is so high of a priority that if we have to kill, like, is it even a higher priority than the Imam Mehdi's life, the Mehdi to come? Meaning that if we have to kill the Mehdi for us to continue Islamic rule, we will even kill the Mehdi, right? So they started shooting at people in a way that not only within the history of Islamic Republic, we haven't seen this. We haven't seen this within the history of Iran as a whole. Some people might say, like, "Oh, didn't you have the Mongols?" The reason why we haven't had anything like this is because every time we had mass killing, it was on the way of if somebody doing an invasion and taking over. We never had this amount of killings when on the way out. When somebody was being toppled, right? So these people have decided that they were going to do everything and anything possible to stay in power. So Iranian people's understanding was, if we come out in the million, we will win. That's over. But now they realize that this regime is even more monstrous than even we imagined. Like, we knew that they were monstrous, but even us never expected anything like this. So what we have is a tactical retreat, and the reason why the revolution hasn't died is because what the Islamic Republic has done is so unforgivable that the Iranian people have decided that they're willing to pay every price to topple it.
Way back from
People
here
who
now.
weren't part, there's no going back from this. Like, what we're hearing is that the Islamic Republic was killing people so that the people get scared and don't come back out. But now people who weren't going out in the first wave, they have decided that they're going to go back. They're going to join the next round of the protest because they have lost somebody. And the Iranian people cannot accept this high of a price and then nothing to show for it. So one thing the Iranian people are waiting for is the command of Princess of Pahlavi, right? But another thing that they're waiting for is to see whether America and Israel are going to attack or not, right? Some Iranians are very, very angry that they haven't showed up yet. There are some Iranians who are very, very angry. And if you want me to go over that, I could talk about that, right? But other Iranians are talking about the fact that we have, like, they're going to see what the attack is going to be and how much is it going to weaken the Islamic Republic. And then also, they're, as we're speaking, they're planning the next wave. And this time they're coming. So if the first wave of the revolution was with the goal of overwhelming the regime and making them join the people, it seems like it, and we don't know. It seems like the second wave is being designed for killing whoever they get their hands on, right? So the first wave was like, we come out, we're too many. They're gonna see that we're so high, so they're gonna be like, okay, let's join the people. There's no way to end this. But this time they're coming out to kill. That's what this seems like people are planning on to do. So just overwhelm them and then get their hands on them and tear them into pieces. All right, and they're getting ready for that. And even if the attack from United States and Israel doesn't come, they're determined to do something themselves. They're just waiting to see if there's going to be an attack that weakens the Islamic Republic, so that they come after that. Maybe. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And next is Sami.
Thank you, guys.
Sami, one.
Demi?
Sami, two. Okay, Amy.
Amy?
Amy,
Yeah,
are
can
you
you hear
here?
me?
Here you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Okay, so obviously, thank you for taking my question. I'm in the United States, so I'm seeing this from the US perspective. And I'm watching everything else that's going on within the United States itself and watching Canada.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, anyway, I'm in the US and I'm seeing this from a different perspective. I think there's a lot more going on on a larger global, bigger picture kind of thing. I do know that help is coming, obviously. I don't know what it's going to look like, but my question is for the people in Iran, when this is over and they've got their country back, what are they going to do for, and this is like putting the cart before the horse, but what are they going to do for money? How are they going to exist? Like, how does anybody, I have no idea, like, how this is going to work, you know? Does that make
Okay.
sense?
No. Yeah. No. That's good. I mean, it's not putting the cart before the horse, because I think as an American, right? If your
Mhm.
country is getting involved in something, you need to be asking about, like, well, how is this going to? What is it going to be the result of all this, right? Like, you're an American taxpayer.
I'm worried about how the people of Iran are going to pay for things. How are they going to support
Okay.
themselves? Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
wondering.
All right. I mean, we have a lot of oil and gas, right? So we're going to be selling that at a good price, because right now China is basically taking it at discount prices. So we have a lot of oil and gas. So we're going to, given the sanctions are going to be removed hopefully soon, we're going to
Uh-huh.
be able to sell that at market prices rather than
Mhm.
discounted prices to China. We have a lot of natural resources. I'm gonna leave the best for last. This is not the most important thing, right?
Okay.
We have a lot of natural resources, a lot of natural
Yes.
resources. We have a rich history and culture, which is
Right.
going to be a major source of tourism for us. I'm
Yeah.
expecting a lot of Israeli tourists, especially as well, because we have a lot of sites that Israelis would have been dying to visit, a major part of their history as well. A lot of Jewish history is in Iran, especially the tomb of Cyrus the Great.
Yeah. Right.
So there's a lot of tourism. Like, we have four seasons, we have a lot of historical sites, we have a lot of beautiful beaches, so much to come to visit. So that's going to be a major source as well. But I
Mhm.
think most importantly is the most important resource that we have is the Iranian people, right?
Right.
The Iranian people are very educated, they're very entrepreneurial, they're very hardworking, they're very eager to be connected to the rest of the world, to trade with the rest of the world, to contribute to the rest of the world. I mean, for example, as an American, you might have noticed how contributing Iranians have been in America, right? So if you
Oh
look at
yeah. For
the finance sector, the tech sector, you could see that wherever they're kind of like
just
Jews
even in
to
the
some extent.
communities, like I can't even tell you like the interpersonal relationships with Iranians in communities that I've lived in. Yeah, did it. But
Go on.
anyway, yeah. No, it's a very deep kind of like loving,
Yeah.
wonderful
So
thing.
I think the most important resource of every society is not its natural resources, it's its human resources, right? Because a
Excellent.
lot of
Yeah.
people Yeah, a lot of people think like wealth is something that gets transferred from for one person to another. Wealth is something that is created, right? And
Right.
you
Right.
create wealth. So natural resources are the wealth are something that you could the wealth that you have, right? But your
Right.
human resources are the health that you could generate. And wealth generation is more important than the wealth that you have. And because the Iranian people have the proper values and the proper mindset and the proper amount of ambition and the proper education, I think after we get to a stable situation, I think wealth generation is not going to be an issue in Iran.
Yeah. You know what? That's good for now, you guys. I could go on and on. So whoever's next.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I saw
Yeah.
Sammy is not here
Just
anymore.
think, just one last thing. I think as soon as the sanctions are removed, once we're free, there's going to also be a lot of capital flowing into Iran because a lot of people want investment opportunities inside Iran. And there's a
Absolutely.
lot of underpriced based on the potential. Uncle Coping is saying he wants to do that as well. Because given that, imagine investors are looking for opportunities. So once that opens up, there's going to be a lot of investments in Iran is going to be underpriced for the value that they have to generate. So people are going to be dying to come in and basically take advantage of this high returns that they could have by investing in different opportunities in Iran. So that's also another thing to look forward to.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody knows. I don't think anybody can see what this is going to mean for the entire world.
We have 15 minutes left before the hour. Jeffrey. Jeffrey.
He had stepped away just a few moments ago. He might not be back.
Okay. Samantha.
All right, I was gonna say, yeah, no, like media is not giving anywhere near as enough attention about what's happening in Iran as it should be. The protests about ICE in America are getting more media, way more media attention than Iran is getting in America. So, like, and then the media attention that Iran does get is very much like, intentionally meant to not show people chanting for the Shah to the point where it's like,
Wow.
you like to say that, like, oh, no, I'm going to tell you, most people left of center. I mean, it's not even most people. It's like practically no one left of center honestly thinks that, people chanting for the Shah in Iran make up any sort of majority. Like, that's not the case. No one left of center thinks that people in Iran really want the Shah back.
That's crazy. That's insane. Oh, that's so sweet. That I got. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Okay. Soapbox. Soapbox.
Yes,
Here you go.
yes. Oh, hi. Go ahead and give it to the next guy or gal, Samantha, whatever. I'm just listening, learning.
Okay. Well.
By the way, Soapbox, I'm grateful that you're here. I hope like I didn't say anything that upset you. Okay, like
Oh,
we're gonna have
Armin,
a lot of philosophical. Yeah.
that's totally okay. I just like to deep think, and I know
Yep.
that like your opinion, with me before, about a cart before the horse, right? You're looking at victory now on the street. I get it. That's got to
Sure.
happen first, and I was just trying to, lay out a little bit of a structure,
Yep.
from what I perceive, from my end.
No, no,
Uh,
yeah, I understand that. I promise you that we're going to have a lot of political philosophy discussion. I mean, if you go look at the courses section in our school, you could see that I was starting to do that and it stopped because of the revolution, right? So I
right.
promise you we're going to have a lot of discussions like that here in this group. And I'm also making a series of courses in political philosophy and political science in Persian for our Persian channel. So I understand the importance of that. I was just like, so we're going to have a lot of those discussions here.
Oh, I get
So
it. And man,
yeah,
I get it.
yeah,
It's like it's hard to, conceive of things that are considered too abstract while, you got people leaving their blood all over the street, right? I get that.
yes.
I mean, it's, I'm not there, you have family, friends, everybody here does, or many do, but, it's not my country. I just have Iranian friends. So I
Yep,
get
that's
it.
good.
I'm just laying into you because of the fact that I think that you have certain ideals and principles that you want to see installed in your new country, your old country rather, but your new government, so that
Yes.
you can shape it the way you people want, and that's
Yeah,
important.
honestly, I'm fighting for Iranian people being able to decide that. I'm not really fighting. I mean, I have my own preferences, but
Right.
I'm actually not fighting for my preferences. I and many other Iranians are fighting for the right to be able to choose those preferences when the time comes.
I
Right?
understand.
So we're just
It's like
yeah,
we got to do A before we get to B, and then if your house is on fire, the first thing you need to do is put the house
yeah.
fire out, and then we start sorting out who gets to live in what bedroom later. I mean,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
kind of the analogy, right?
Yes.
We always have a framework, though. I know that you're a liberty minded kind of individual. So I know where you come from. You're not a communist or a statist, right? Everybody's trying to team together and get this mess sorted out, topple that IRGC, and then move on. And then historically, this is how it happens. There's a little bit of a scramble fight afterwards, and everyone's going to look to who's going to be doing which power bits on this side or that one, right? Globally, that's always the case. I mean, just study
All
a
right.
little bit
So
of.
Let's move on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
no, thank you for being here.
Joel.
Oh, did y'all? Okay.
Dajal, get that bass in here, boy.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask, man. I know most Iranian Kurds are loyal and patriotic and support the Shah. What percentage is separatist, though? I'm just curious.
We don't have a poll on that, but we do have a poll that shows that separatists as a whole in the country are like 3% or something. But that was a poll from many years ago. I don't know. But I think if I had to, do you want me to guess?
Yeah, why not?
Because I think that if I had to guess, I think for the Kurdish people, if again this is just a guess, I don't have a poll. I think it's less than 5% for the Kurds.
Oh, wow.
I think among the Turks that might be higher, a little bit, but still a minority.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
For the Turks, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets like, I don't know, maybe to 20%, maybe. I have no idea, by the way, if this is just guess, right?
Yeah.
But I just know it's not going to be, it's still going to be a minority.
Yeah, of course. How many Turks are in Iran?
I don't know. I have to look it up.
Yeah.
I know 50% of Iran, based on different polls, I've seen between 50 to 60% is Persian. So the remaining is divided between different ethnic groups. So I don't know exactly what percent is each one. I just know it's basically around more than like a bit over half of it is Persian.
Right. And the Kurds are an Indo-Iranian people themselves, and most of them are loyal.
That's why a lot of their celebrations are the same as, like that's why they have Nowruz, like just like we do, like the Persian New Year.
Yeah, of course.
It's
Yeah,
Kurdish, yeah.
it makes sense. The separatists are basically communist, right?
Not always, but there is an overlap.
The flag that Uncle Coping was talking about, their version of the lion and sun.
They have lion and sun. They hate the lion and sun. They have a flag with a sun in the middle of it. There is no lion. It's just a sun.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's their little rip-off flag, huh? Basically, so to speak.
Well, I mean, their sun is completely different.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up and see.
It's
They're
a spiky sun. Yeah, they have more commies than the separatists. There are more commies among them.
Yes.
They're also terrorists.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The ones in Syria, the Turks are fighting. A lot of them are Kurdish terrorists and communists too, right?
Yep. Rojava is like for example, it's a communist haven or something.
Right.
A lot of commies who don't like CCP because it's not commie anymore. Like they go to Rojava, Kurdish Rojava in Syria as their ideal place.
Right. I got you.
Yeah.
They're really not that communist anymore. They're more fascist at this point. They just call themselves.
It's called state capitalism. What the CCP is doing is called state capitalism. We have 4 types of capitalism: laws of regulated capitalism, crony capitalism, state capitalism. So what
Yeah.
China has is state capitalism.